Libra. September 2026 marks the beginning of a brand new personal cycle for you as your birthday season approaches. Happy birthday to all the September Libras. The first half of the month unfolds at a gentler pace, giving you time to sort through unfinished matters. Then, after September 23rd, the sun enters your sign, gradually restoring your confidence, initiative, and ability to take the lead. On September 11th, the new moon in Virgo falls in your 12th house, opening a period of completion, inner preparation, and releasing anything that isn't meant to accompany you into your next solar year. Projects, relationships, or long-standing obligations may finally come to an end. You may need more time to rest and recharge, prefer working behind the scenes, or make an important decision that you're not quite ready to share with others. Then, on September 26th, the full moon in Aries illuminates your 7th house, bringing results in relationships, partnerships, and collaborations. An important conversation may take place. The future of a relationship may become clear. Negotiations could reach completion, or you'll finally understand where someone truly stands, whether they're connected to you personally or professionally. Together, these two lunations capture the central theme of September. First, you clear away what has outlived its purpose. Only then can you redefine yourself within your relationships and begin acting from a more authentic and empowered place. Your ruling planet, Venus, plays an especially significant role this month. September begins with Venus in Libra and your first house. But remember that on August 31st, Venus entered the shadow phase of its upcoming retrograde cycle. This means that personal decisions, relationships, changes to your appearance, and new projects that begin now are likely to become part of a much longer story, one that will continue evolving and may require review during October and November. Until September 10th, Venus remains in your sign. This enhances your natural charm and magnetism. You may feel inspired to focus more on yourself, refresh your appearance, update your style, take initiative in relationships, or reconnect with personal interests you've neglected. After September 10th, Venus moves into Scorpio and your 2nd house, shifting your attention toward money, income, personal values, and the true worth of your time, talents, and work. Financial matters become one of the central themes of Venus's upcoming retrograde cycle. New income opportunities, purchases, professional agreements, or discussions about compensation may emerge during September, but many of these situations will need to be revisited later. For now, notice which desires are changing, what your financial priorities are becoming, and how you can align your resources with your deepest values, and resist the temptation to assume your first decision will be your final one. Until September 23rd, the sun travels through Virgo and your 12th house. The beginning of the month is therefore ideal for completing unfinished business, preparing behind the scenes, and working on projects that don't yet require public attention. There may be many internal decisions, moments of reflection, and a growing need to process everything that has accumulated over the past several months. Once the sun enters Libra and your 1st house after September 23rd, your new solar year officially begins. Your energy starts returning, your mind becomes clearer, your confidence grows, you'll feel much more ready to take charge of your own direction. The decisions that were quietly taking shape during the first half of September can now gradually be translated into visible action. September weaves together 3 major themes: closing an old chapter, restructuring your relationships, and preparing for a much more active, self-directed phase of life. While both the Sun and Mercury remain in your 12th house, your priority is to finish what has already been draining your energy rather than trying to force situations that still need more time to unfold. Once Mercury and later the Sun enter Libra, everything begins to shift. Clarity increases, your personal initiative returns, you become much more capable of defining your own terms instead of simply reacting to circumstances. Meanwhile, Venus begins a major cycle of reevaluating your values and finances. The new version of yourself that is emerging will also need a new financial foundation, a different relationship with money, a clearer understanding of your own worth, and a stronger appreciation for what truly deserves your time, energy, and investment. Events unfolding in your 7th house also reveal who is truly meant to continue this journey with you. Saturn asks for commitment and reliability. Neptune dissolves illusions. Chiron brings old relationship wounds back into awareness for healing. And the full moon at the end of the month reveals the true state of your most important partnerships. Now let's look at September day by day. September 1, Mars in Cancer and your 10th house forms a square to retrograde Saturn in Aries and your 7th house. The beginning of September may require you to balance professional ambitions with the needs and expectations of other people. A work project, career opportunity, promotion, or decision about your long-term professional direction could run into conditions imposed by a partner, client, supervisor, or someone whose cooperation is essential to your plans. In business relationships, it may become obvious that previous agreements no longer fit the current situation. Responsibilities may need to be redistributed, deadlines clarified, expectations renegotiated. Trying to push events forward through pressure or force will most likely create even more resistance. In your personal life, career demands or professional ambitions may also require an honest conversation. One partner may feel that the other's work responsibilities are beginning to overshadow the relationship. At the same time, Mercury in Virgo in your 12th house forms a supportive sextile to Mars in your 10th house. A private conversation becomes the key to finding a solution. This is an excellent time for strategic discussions with supervisors, preparing documents, developing a project before its official launch, or negotiating professional changes that are best kept confidential for now. The beginning of the month favors preparation, not confrontation. September 6 to 9, Venus continues moving through Libra in your first house. Because your ruling planet is already traveling through the future retrograde shadow, the personal decisions you make during these days could become the beginning of a much longer story. Your relationship with yourself begins to change. You may see yourself differently. You may feel inspired to refresh your appearance, redefine your personal style, begin a new relationship, or move forward with a personal project that has been waiting for the right moment. At the same time, remember that many of the situations beginning now will continue evolving throughout October and November. On September 8th, Venus forms a trine to the North Node in Aquarius in your 5th house, while simultaneously making a sextile to the South Node in Leo in your 11th house. For you, this beautiful configuration connects personal choices with romance, creativity, children, passion projects, and your long-term vision for the future. A new romantic connection may emerge through friends, professional communities, networking events, or even online. A personal project may begin attracting greater attention. An idea that previously existed only within a group or team could gradually evolve into something that feels uniquely yours. If you're involved in creative work, building a personal brand, or working with an audience, this period may reveal which direction best reflects your authentic identity. In relationships, it becomes easier to recognize what you truly want, not simply what other people expect from you. This distinction becomes especially important under the current lunar node cycle. You're being encouraged to rely less on external approval and invest more energy in what genuinely brings you personal fulfillment. On September 9th, Venus forms a sextile to Black Moon Lilith in Sagittarius in your 3rd house. A conversation may finally touch on a subject that previously felt uncomfortable to discuss. You may find it easier to admit what you truly want, to express feelings you've been holding back, or to stop maintaining superficial harmony at the cost of your own honesty. Pay close attention to conversations, messages, information, and promises during this time. Someone's charm or the appeal of an opportunity should never replace careful fact-checking. September 10th, Venus enters Scorpio in your 2nd house. After several weeks in which your primary focus was yourself and your personal desires, your attention naturally shifts toward money, income, financial stability, and your material foundation. An opportunity to increase your income may appear. You may renegotiate your compensation, make an important purchase, or begin managing your resources differently. Questions surrounding the value of your work become especially important. You may realize it's time to charge what your knowledge, experience, and effort are truly worth. However, remember that Venus remains within its future retrograde shadow. Financial decisions made now should still be viewed as preliminary. A new source of income, a purchase, a compensation agreement, or even a shift in your financial priorities may still evolve significantly over the coming months. On the same day, Venus forms an opposition to retrograde Chiron in Taurus in your 8th house. This aspect asks you to balance your personal finances with shared resources and financial obligations. Discussions may revolve around joint finances, loans, investments, shared expenses, a partner's income, property matters, or long-term financial planning. Within relationships, this aspect may expose sensitive issues surrounding dependence. One person may have greater financial power than the other, and that imbalance could begin influencing the dynamics of freedom, control, or decision-making within the partnership. This day may encourage you to reassess the value of your work, or to walk away from financial arrangements that leave you overly dependent on someone else. Also on September 10th, Mercury enters Libra and your 1st house. After several weeks of internal reflection, expressing your thoughts becomes much easier. Your calendar may become busier. Conversations, short trips, and personal decisions all begin increasing. This is an excellent period for developing your own projects, completing paperwork, speaking publicly, consulting, negotiating, and discussing your future plans with greater confidence. On the same day, Uranus stations retrograde in Gemini in your 9th house. Plans that began forming during the spring or summer may now require adjustments. You may revisit ideas involving relocation, higher education, international business, travel, publishing, or legal matters. A travel itinerary could unexpectedly change. An educational program may take a different direction. A legal process could require revisions. Retrograde Uranus gives you time to recognize alternatives that simply weren't visible before. September 11th, new moon in Virgo in your 12th house. This new moon begins a cycle that develops primarily behind the scenes rather than through outward activity. For you, this is a time to complete unfinished business, restore your energy, and prepare yourself for a brand new personal year. A project that has remained unresolved for a long time may finally reach completion. A private issue you've preferred not to discuss publicly could finally find resolution. Professionally, this is an excellent period for research, preparation, strategic planning, confidential negotiations, and any work requiring focused attention without constant outside involvement. You may also discover that your body and mind simply need more rest. If the past several months have been filled with career responsibilities, networking, or demanding group projects, this new moon offers permission to slow down. A 12th house new moon is also ideal for therapy, spiritual work, meditation, dream analysis, emotional healing, and bringing closure to old psychological chapters. This is your opportunity to rebuild your inner reserves before an entirely new cycle begins. September 12th. Mercury in Libra in your first house forms a trine to retrograde Pluto in Aquarius in your fifth house, while simultaneously opposing retrograde Neptune in Aries in your seventh house. This is an important day for relationships, personal projects, negotiations, and honest conversations. Mercury's trine to Pluto gives you the courage and clarity to speak about what truly matters. A meaningful conversation with your partner may take place. You may develop an exciting idea for a personal project, or you may reach an important realization involving romance, children, creativity, or your own path of self-expression. If you work in a creative field, consulting, education, coaching, or any public-facing profession, this aspect can help you recognize the direction that deserves your greatest attention moving forward. However, Mercury's opposition to Neptune in your seventh house asks for extra caution when listening to another person's promises or intentions. A partner, or someone who hopes to work with you, may not yet be fully clear about what they truly want. What sounds inspiring today may prove to be far less concrete than it first appears. Be especially careful with agreements filled with beautiful words but lacking specific commitments and practical details. In personal relationships, both people may sincerely believe they've explained themselves perfectly, while in reality they're talking about completely different things. Today, it's far better to ask direct questions and clarify expectations than to fill in the blanks with assumptions. September 14th. Mercury in your first house forms a trine to retrograde Uranus in Gemini in your ninth house. Unexpected information could quickly change your plans involving travel, education, legal matters, publishing, international connections, or long-term goals. An issue that has remained unresolved for quite some time may suddenly move forward. A different travel route, a new educational opportunity, or an offer from someone abroad may appear almost unexpectedly. If you're involved in publishing, teaching, consulting, coaching, or working with an international audience, this day may open an exciting new direction. It's an excellent time to embrace new technology, search for innovative solutions to bureaucratic challenges, or revise an old strategy if a better option suddenly becomes available. Also on September 14th, Black Moon Lilith enters Capricorn and your fourth house. Over the coming months, themes involving home, family, real estate, emotional security, and personal boundaries become more sensitive. Old family conflicts may resurface. Power struggles within the family could become more noticeable. Others may attempt to influence decisions that should ultimately belong to you. Avoid making major decisions about your home solely out of guilt or obligation toward relatives. Where and how you choose to live should reflect not only your family's expectations, but your own emotional needs as well. September 15th. Venus in Scorpio and your second house forms a square to retrograde Pluto in Aquarius in your fifth house. A financial matter may become closely connected with romance, children, a creative project, or something that brings genuine joy into your life. You may face decisions involving investing in a personal business, funding a creative endeavor, paying for education, supporting a child, or developing a passion into something more substantial. You may feel tempted to take a financial risk for something you truly believe in. But now it's especially important to understand the real cost of that decision before moving forward. In relationships, this aspect intensifies attraction while also bringing issues of control, jealousy, dependence, or power dynamics into the open. If financial matters have quietly influenced your relationship for some time, they become much harder to ignore. A new romantic connection may feel incredibly compelling. However, remember that Venus is still moving through its retrograde shadow, the powerful emotions of these first weeks may not yet reveal the full story of where the relationship is ultimately headed. For creative Libras, this can become a major turning point. What once felt like a hobby now begins asking to be treated like a real business, with financial planning, investment, structure, and a more professional approach. Pluto in your fifth house is gradually transforming your relationship with self-expression. Venus in your second house asks an equally important question: what is your creative work actually worth? The middle of September reveals what you're truly willing to invest your time, energy, and resources in, and how important your own desires deserve to be in the next chapter of your life.